In today's video, we have a few updates on the life and times of Chris Chan. Now, last time we saw him, he was spotted at the Dallas airport, and then shortly afterwards, he was trying to dox a troll that had driven by his house. But other than that, it's been complete radio silence for Chris, and it's been that way for the past few months. However, just the other day, he came back to Twitter with a really long, drawn-out tweet, again calling out the haters and the fakes, which is something that Chris is known to do because he cannot get these people off his mind 20 years later, and they still live rent-free up there. But I believe we finally have the answer as to why Chris was out in Dallas, and I mean, if what I'm about to show you later on isn't why Chris was out there, I will be incredibly shocked, but we'll get to that. Then we have that aforementioned tweet that Chris was rambling on about, and also, Chris is really into Minecraft again. Now, he was showing off his OG world on Twitter, and I don't know if he's going to open it up to the public, but I mean, if Chris opens up a Minecraft world, it has to break the record for most, phallic designs on a single world at one time, because people are just gonna troll the hell out of them. And we'll talk about all that, but first, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor. I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Ladies and gentlemen, are you aware that data brokers can sell your information to scammers, spammers, and basically anybody else who may want to target you? Your full name, email, home address, health records, it's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from the hackers who could use this information to help them access any social media accounts, bank accounts, or any other sensitive information. Recently, AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records, both existing and former customers, were released onto the dark web. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura will do all this for you, and best of all, you don't have to download several different apps just because a company couldn't keep your data secure. If my info was compromised in the AT&T data breach, I wouldn't worry, because Aura is always on and always doing the hard work to keep me safe. I value my privacy, ladies and gentlemen, and you best believe I value yours as well. Now you can go to aura.com/SmokeyMCC and start your 2-week free trial today. Also, link down in the description below and the pinned comment. Aura cares about your safety here online, ladies and gentlemen, and with Aura in your corner, there ain't nothing that can stop you. Thank you again to Aura for sponsoring this video, and now let's get on with it. So as I mentioned in the beginning, Chris really hasn't been doing much online. The last time we saw him post a video of his own, it was this one you see on screen right now, with him singing the Saki Harvin polka. Now, I would love to show you this, but apparently it gets copyright struck immediately if I do, because, of course, with Chris, it's never just him singing the song. He's got to have the actual song blaring over his own words to where you can barely hear him. Think so, need a cute girl. This was it. This was back about 2 months ago, and since then, Chris really hasn't posted anything. Again, he was then spotted in Dallas, and then he made that aforementioned post trying to be like, hey, troll, I got a picture of your car. And then just the other day, he decided to post this. Chris says, hey, I apologize for not posting as much lately, but I've been doing even more further soul searching and have found more insight and satisfaction. That's a classic Chris buzzword statement where he just talks about a bunch of his, omnipotent crap, like soul searching, insight, all this. It's just Chris's way of saying, yeah, I've been sitting on my ass playing some video games I've been wanting to catch up on ever since getting out of jail last year. Also, I'm just really not in the mood to do any of the Sonichu stuff. When you read between the lines, you can tell a lot with what Chris is saying, and maybe speculating a lot, but we all know that this soul-searching shit is all bullshit, so it's gotta be the first answer. Chris has always tried to make the days that he spends in his room really doing nothing but twiddling his fingers and scrolling through his phone sound like some really hard journey that he's going on, where he's trying to find himself or trying to look within himself to see his godly powers. He always words it in some crazy, important way, when really it's just him taking a breather because he couldn't handle all the live streams he was doing and all the trollish donations coming in. I also realized something recently. Those who often publicly post online to others with little regard of care and the quality of their content likely don't have many actual close friends of their own. This, of course, does not apply to everyone. Now, I have to argue that I feel like people who put more qualities, spend all day long on their videos, would probably be the ones to not have much of a personal life, but that's just because of the lack of time they would have. I've met plenty of YouTubers who really put out some awesome content, and these people have awesome friend groups as well. I think Chris is just looking to throw shade at people who make bad content on him or anybody else, and this is really the only insult he could have, is that you don't really have any friends. But I digress. Chris's logic here is that there's someone out there who's not putting a lot of quality. Oh, wait a minute. This is all starting to add up now. I think Chris is just calling out the people who make videos on him, and besides Gino, is there anyone who really puts a lot of quality into their Chris Chan related videos? I mean, Gamer from Mars made his, and that's awesome, but he doesn't consistently make Chris videos. Turkey Tom made that big documentary, again though, doesn't consistently make videos on Chris. There's really only a few people left after that. Look, I don't know who he's talking about here, but if you're a creator putting out low-quality videos about Chris, you better knock it off. Moreover, this applies to the weens and those who have not found themselves, yet continue to follow trends to fabricate their own respective definitions of an identity. I used to be like that at times, but I have not in years. Let's be real, Chris is the poster child for following trends to fabricate his own identity. I mean, look back in the day, he was so into Axe. And I don't even think it's because he necessarily liked the smell of Axe body spray, he just believed that it would get him women like he saw on the commercials. Then we get to the more recent years where Chris is now Christine. Look, I'm not going to get into any of that because I can tell what the comments would look like. I feel like Chris could be one of the most perfect people to talk about this situation, considering how many times he's done it himself. Now, he talks about the fact that he hasn't done it in years, and that could be true. If you've seen any recent pictures of Chris out in public, not when he's in disguise like he tried to be in Dallas, Chris is always walking around with all of his Sonichu accessories, and his bright blue hair, and his rings, and his really colorful shoes. You don't go out in public and see somebody dressed like Chris most days. I mean, you ask me, I've never seen somebody that bombastically dressed in my life just walking around. I mean, maybe I have and I just don't remember, but I think Chris is trying to set his own trend here. Now, is anybody following it? Maybe some people at some conventions that Chris goes to, but in my eyes, no. So in recent years, I think Chris may be right. He hasn't been really following all the trends. He's just trying to do his own thing. However, it is worth mentioning that there recently were 2 years where we really couldn't see what Chris was doing, so maybe he was following trends while in jail and we just don't know about it. I mean, I heard those Turkish prayer rugs were all the rage in jail, and of course Chris had to get one for himself. Chris then follows up by saying, like my fellow Pisces, I end up going with the flow at times, but that is not to say that I'm dumb like an unwoke individual or ween, but I am a lot more intelligent and insightful. Everyone makes mistakes, and with those few who can shift quote-unquote reality in their favor or in favor of everyone, but even more few are those who literally foreknow specific events and details consciously not knowing when specifically it will happen. It is not advised to ask them or force a date out of them. It is going to happen, regardless, so do the universe, timeline, and deities a favor, and don't try to force it. Now, I'm pretty sure Chris is talking about more dimensional merge stuff here and just trying to get people to not ask him for a specific date, which they've been doing for the past 6-7 years. But this is Chris's way of saying it. Guys, we are the deities. We are, we're the godly ones. And you can't know a specific date when things are going to happen. And I mean, it's really funny that Chris says this when he himself has stated before that the dimensional merge will be happening soon, will be happening before the end of this specific year, and it never happens. So this is really just Chris's way to brush off anybody who asks him anything about the merger or anything like that, really. Chris just doesn't have the answers, and for you asking them, you are the problem. You're the toxic sinners, and Chris is just trying to do all he can, and we just gotta sit back and let him do it. We are manifesting everything as prophesized and foretold. It is clear to see if you compare what has been stated before and what had manifested since. It's easier than rocket science, yet complicated like the alpha omega point of all existence, and the role of the one avatar of all existence. I think Chris is just trying to trying to make light of rocket science there. Like in his mind, if somebody were to say it's not rocket science, Chris would have to respond, yeah, because rocket science is easy. You know, it's not easy. The complicated point of the alpha omega point of all existence and the role of the one avatar of all existence. Like it's just he goes on these tangents with these like random things about him being the one avatar, him being the alpha omega. Because I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying here. Maybe I'm not just that smart and I don't understand what's going on. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the latter, because I have no idea what Chris is talking about here, but then again, I never really have much of an idea when Chris is just spewing these word jumbles out of his mouth, like alpha and omega points of existence. Maybe I should know about that, but I don't. I feel like a lot of people probably don't. It's like when Chris talks about his chakras or his spiritual energy. It's just more stuff that he can spew and try to sound really wise while doing so. But it never comes off as looking like very intelligent. It always comes off as him looking like some crazy dude on the street corner screaming about like godly bullshit. In any event, life is better enjoyed when you count your blessings. Good health, for one thing in general, progression, learning, experiences between yourself and everyone else, having actual, authentic, close and closer friends, if you have them, which is so ironic for Chris to say when throughout the entirety of his life, you can count on maybe like one or two hands how many people have been actual close friends to Chris. I mean, you can probably count how many people have just been friends in general, because most people were just online trolls or fake gal pals trying to get to him, like made up sweethearts and stuff like that. So nowadays, when Chris has his wranglers by his side, the Prater people, and we also know of Flutter or Egg, the woman that he's apparently been seeing, which as time goes on more and more, I'm starting to think this is less of a relationship and more of just a friendship. But Chris is just not the person to be talking about having real and close friends when most of the people he's known throughout his life were just there to fuck with him. Dispelling any individuals who have been proven by themselves as toxic to you and others. Even redeeming yourself from being toxic to be more positive and good light powered, and the opportunities towards such are great blessing not to be overlooked. So it's again Chris just trying to do a call to arms of people being like, hey, stop being a troll, come on over to my side, be a good light-powered individual. I mean, come on, we have like arts and crafts, every Wednesday, Caden and the Prater buy us a pizza, like it's pretty lit over here, you might want to come over here. But I'm pretty sure the trolls and all the weens are just going to continue to mess with Chris, and he's not going to get what he wants out of this. But it's just like anytime Chris does this whole thing about people changing from being a bunch of toxic individuals, he's just basically shouting to the clouds, hoping that the trolling one of these days stops. And I assume this is all based on him seeing a YouTube video he didn't like, or another ween showing up at his residence, because it happens probably more often than you think, and Chris just isn't publicizing it every time it does. The point is to try to better yourselves for the light-powered and good, not letting any toxic naysayers who haven't learned or do not authentically know better put even 1 bit or 1 cent piece towards dragging you down like a demon or devil manifested from numerous amounts of doubt. It's a tough process, true. Again, like, come on, guys, join Chris's side. The guy who just got out of jail last year for boinking his own, 80-year-old dementia-ridden mother. This is the good side. All you people over there calling this out, you're toxic as shit. You're one of these demons. You're one of these devils. And the toxic naysayers he speaks about, again, are just any ween on the internet, anybody who says that he's saying bullshit when he talks about his merge or any, godly stuff that Chris likes to chirp. Anybody who goes against what Chris says is a naysayer. They're toxic and they need to be weeded out. And not all of you have all of your Sonichus and Rose Chews on Earth. Nor do all of you have all of yourself right where you are, or even on this Earth or timeline. I've been everywhere and speak from personal experiences, but I am grounded. and know I am here and now in this timeline and on Earth that is becoming undivided. Wow, that's a lot to unpack right there. I know when he says he's grounded, he means like he's grounded in reality, which no, you're not. And none of this stuff you're saying right now, talking about people and all of their sauna chews and rose chews, it's not grounded in reality. But if Chris actually was grounded, I could see the Prater people being like, Chris, now we told you not to go back on Twitter and call out these trolls. You go sit in your room for a couple hours and think about what you did. Now, granted, that's probably where Chris was planning on spending most of his day anyway, but that's not important. I don't think Chris is actually grounded, but it's kind of funny to think if he did get grounded by these wranglers. But yeah, everybody apparently has sauna chews and rose chews, but they're not all on Earth, and neither are ourselves, because despite leaving your house and walking down the street and seeing a bunch of people, some of them may not actually be here. At least that's what I think Chris is saying. But you know who knows best and has been everywhere and can speak from personal experiences? Chris. Chris has done it all. He is God at the end of the day, so we have to trust his words on this. Again, it's just a bunch of nonsense to make him sound like he knows everything and everybody else knows nothing. This is really just a big, everybody's gay but me situation, if we're being honest. Chris just wants to be looked at as something more than everybody else. Is it working? Kind of, but not in the way that he intends on it. And then Chris finally ends his post by saying, meditate on that with genuine love, compassion, and importantly, empathy. And it all is tied together with a picture of the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, or I believe that's the Yellow Submarine, right? I mean, it could be like a Pride Month thing considering the rainbow in the background, but I'm just pretty sure that's the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. I don't know what it has to do with this situation, but Chris is God at the end of the day, so who the fuck am I to ask? Chris then tweets again a day later, saying, just to give y'all a little something to look forward to, next live stream I do will be in my recently updated OG Minecraft world. Give y'all a look at what I was able to do in survival mode over a matter of months, years ago, and recently. Also, go to my Etsy now. We're not going to promote Chris's Etsy store. Back to the Minecraft stuff. I mean, this is probably what Chris has been doing. When he says he's been sitting around soul searching, he means that he's been sitting there playing Minecraft on his Nintendo Switch. And don't get it twisted. He really believes this is some omnipotent thing he's doing by sitting there and listening to some random YouTube video talking about chakras and soul rocks and different shit like that. That's what Chris does to be the best god he can be. Yeah, obviously he has to play some video games and do something else because he can't just focus on one thing at one time, but that's just what gods do. And you know what that's making me realize? That Chris may be very, very misinformed over how many gods there are, because if that's all it takes is you sitting there playing a bunch of video games while listening to YouTube videos, pretty sure there's millions of gods out there doing this on a daily basis. But he says he's about to go live and show off his old Minecraft world, which has now been updated, and I highly, highly doubt that he's going to let people in there. But if he does, in the small chance that Chris opens up this world to the public and lets people in, I guarantee you it is not going to take more than 5 minutes for Chris to realize the error of his ways and shut it down. Just shut it down immediately when people try putting TNT everywhere, or making signs informing people of what Chris did to Barbara. It would be a mess. So I think even Chris knows, though, that he can't open this up, but I'm really, really hoping he does, because I'd imagine a public Chris Chan Minecraft server would just be an absolute disaster. And finally, the last thing I wanted to show you. Remember in the last video I did on Chris about 2 weeks ago, where we showed this video of Chris being spotted in the Dallas airport? Now at the time I had said that I believed that he was just there because of a connecting flight. He was somewhere else and had to go to Dallas before going back home to Virginia. Well, the more and more I've looked into it, and the more I've seen, the more I've heard, I'm actually starting to believe that his final destination was Dallas, and this was just him flying back. And the big question many people had was, well then why would he be in Dallas? What is in Dallas that would make Chris Chan want to go there? Somebody who notoriously never flies anywhere, never leaves his own hometown. Where the hell, what is going to get him out there to Dallas? And then a tweet was posted just about a week ago by a dude named Bowie, showing a stand at a Comic-Con or some type of convention down there in Dallas. And this is the stand in the picture. So this was a booth entitled the Sonichu Solution Store at some random con in Dallas, and again, being that Chris Chan was just there right before this stand opened up, or booth, or whatever you call it, I'm sorry to all the con people out there from not getting the terminology right, but I mean, look, let's be real. That dude right there, that is exactly the type of guy I could see running a Chris Chan branded merch store. And that's exactly what this is. Now, at first I thought maybe these were just some people doing like knockoff shit, but look at that right there. Jail art. Jail art. You're not getting that from anybody but Chris himself. So I'm going to make a theory right now, and it's completely unfounded, it's just me thinking what happens here, but I'm pretty sure that Chris probably got on a flight with 2 checked bags, had a bunch of this stuff in there, a bunch of medallions, a bunch of art, and gave it to these people. Now, I could be completely wrong, you know, Chris maybe never even had anything to do with these guys, but I highly, highly doubt it. If he's in Dallas one day, then a few days later, this little stand or booth is opening up, yeah, 99% sure Chris had something to do with it. Nothing Sonichu related happens without Chris having at least something, some hand in the project. And that's personally why I believe Chris was spotted in Dallas not too long ago, especially after seeing this. He was either helping these people out or supplying them in some type of way with all this Sonichu stuff, and the jail art is what absolutely makes me think that. If they had just a bunch of knockoff medallions and stuff like that, I could see this being just anybody looking to get a little bit of money off of Chris's original creations. But once the jail art's up there for sale, yeah, no, they got that directly from the supplier, and that supplier can only be one man. And now it's weird. Are these the Prater people? Like, I don't know. I've never seen their faces. Like, who are these people in the video, and why did they agree to run a Chris Chan branded merch store at a convention? Again, this is the same man who in just a month's time, it will be the 3-year anniversary of him doing what he did to his mother. But I guess people just forget about that because at the end of the day, many look at him as some kooky internet figure who was just treated terribly by those on the internet, and it pushed him to do what he did. And if you know anything about Chris's story, that's not the case at all. Yeah, the trolls had a profound impact on the guy's life. There's no doubt about that, but they didn't make him do what he did to his mom, and that's the worst thing he ever did. But that's really all I got for Chris this week, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a wild ride over the past 3 years, covering really anything that goes on in Chris's whole wacky world, but good things must come to an end at some point, and if it keeps staying this boring, I do not know the next time we're going to have another update. Maybe Chris will go live with his Minecraft live stream and freak out on there, and it'll be pretty funny, but man, things have been slow in Chris's whole dimensional merge-related universe. If he's not on Twitter bitching about Sonichus or bitching about My Little Pony, well then he's pretty much radio silent, and today he came back just to yell about the toxics and the fakes, which is another thing Chris is prone to do, but I wonder what we'll see him do next. Obviously, again, we have that live stream, but it could just be a giant nothing burger, which I'm assuming it's going to be, but I'll talk about all that in my next video on the guy. And until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your goddamn summer, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally here, so it's time to sit back and relax. And finally, I want to give one more big shout out to today's sponsor, Aura. And with that being said, I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a very good rest of your day. Stay safe, everybody.